everybody, it's Marty the JavaScript Party. My buddy Rhett here on a rainy day. There's a peanut M&M here on a rainy day in Marietta, Georgia, and trying to write some code. Made a mess. I have made a mess. Basically, end-to-end testing sort of found a bug, and I ran the test, and a feature that I had implemented had was broken. And so in the process of searching for the feature of the bug, I have found things that were not working the way I wanted them to work. All that. And then I've run across an issue where I conflated two IDs and two different IDs, and I think that is a source of a lot of the issues that I'm up against. So everything was working, and I moved forward, started adding new features, and then found a bug, and now in searching of the bug is getting worse and worse and worse as I find it, and I think it's because I'm fixing things along the way, which is whatever the bug is further doing it, exacerbating the bug. And that is sort of a reality. This is definitely not the first time I've ever done it. I will say that historically I can fix a bug like this very quickly. But this time it's going a lot slower, and I think it's because I'm trying to sort of verbalize everything. When if you code for a couple of years, you get to the point where you can sort of just dip. You just dip out and wake up, and you've written a bunch of good code. And that sort of is good in that you can get a lot done. You get a lot more done. Actually, you can get like 10 times as much done, literally, as you can going through verbally. And a lot of times your solutions are just a lot tighter. They just work a lot better, but they're almost impossible to understand when you're in a more of a reality-based situation. But the bug has progressively gotten worse. At first it was just like when reflow was on in specific situations, things were broken. Now it's just like straight up broken all the time. See, like that. So when we come back to the grid view, we basically have both visualizations sitting on top of each other. And so, as you can see, this is called STRenderer ID. I believe it was just called ID. And now I have a function here that says get current visualization ID. And I say let ID equal 0. And so basically what I'm doing is getting it off of the URL line. So if I come in here and I hit update, this is not the visualization ID. This is the renderer ID. So you could tell, like if you look at what I've done here, you could tell that at some point I was coding and I was completely delusional, right? Like I was thinking I was working with something completely different than what I was working with. So like if we sort of take a step back and we look at our interfaces, put up our interfaces and we look at ST, you see we have a visualization. Now if we look at 3, you'll see that we have a renderer. This is the renderer ID, not the visualization ID, which is a problem. Now, like, the thing is like, a lot of times you sort of have ideas of things the way they work, and then the foundation of those ideas is gone. So like one really good example of that is right now the actual component is this big, but and our visualization is the same size, right? So and so the aspect ratio is 1.57 because that's the width divided by the height. But one of the things I wanted to add that I had in mind was I was going to say, oh, I want to see this as configured, not based on size. So basically, right now, what happens is this finds a way to take up all the space because the assumption is when we're in update, we want as much, we want to see as much as we can see, and then when we go out of update, that's when we'll see it as it is. But actually, we probably do want to see it as it is. So that even that reality of hey, the size of the whole component and the size of the visualization, that's not going to be true. But that was a basic assumption of this whole effort in this update. So like when you make these basic assumptions, when you have no choice, and you have no choice, you have to make basic assumptions. There's no way to do anything without making basic assumptions. When you make basic assumptions, you kind of like build infrastructure around those basic assumptions, and then sometimes the when you remove, it's difficult to visualize what's going to happen when you remove those basic assumptions, and that's kind of what we're struggling with here. But anyways, so this name is wrong, right? We are definitely not getting visualization ID. We're getting we're getting the render ID, and it's so obvious here. But I believe it was in the last video that I changed this name to render ID. See, so I would have immediately known, oh wait, something's wrong here because this should be get renderer ID, not. So this is current renderer ID. I guess the best thing to do is to change it here. And then see where it's broken. It looks like this is the only place it's broken. As far as I can tell, it might be broken someplace else. Alright, so, and this is kind of funny because I want to name this renderer ID. And I am going to name it renderer ID because that is what it is, and I want to be able to understand what's going on. But there are some, what's it called, static code analysis systems that will hit you, and it's the ST renderer ID. That is very important too, because the name of this is the same as the name of this, and they quite often you will get some static code analysis schemes will will give you negative marks for that, give you negative, will report it in a negative way that you did that. But I kind of like it. I get their point. They're saying like you're going to get confused in here between this and this, and I feel like at one point I was like, I don't need to name these ST render what it is because the context is obvious, and obviously the context wasn't obvious. Now I don't think that's going to fix anything, right? That didn't change any code, but it does make it easier to like kind of understand what's going on. Because this whole time I was when I was looking at the console logs, I was like, why is that number not the same? And it was because I print out the visualization ID, not the renderer ID. And but up in the URL, I have the renderer ID, not the visualization ID. And I don't know. Maybe it should be the visualization ID. I think it should be the renderer ID. It is weird, right? Because the visualization holds the DOM element, but the renderer manipulates the DOM element. And the component itself, which is the visualization, is does not contain the renderer, right? So basically, they're both using, and you can actually kind of visualize the renderer containing the element. So it's difficult to like kind of you wrap your mind around because you basically have two different entities using the same thing. One of them is Angular and one of them is ThreeJS, and that just causes some pretty bizarre things. And the other thing is we may very well end up with other things that end up wanting to know what's going on with the renderer, with the DOM element. Because I was thinking the physics engine, when we get that put in, might need it, but actually that's not true. The physics engine, unlike ThreeJS, see, ThreeJS actually wants and manipulates the DOM element. The physics engine is more of an accounting scheme. It just keeps track of where things are. Like you create a scenario and it keeps track of everything, and then you update the. It doesn't know anything about the elements. It doesn't care about the elements. So that's interesting. I never really kind of thought through all of that. That distinction between ThreeJS and physics engines. But anyway, so we're back to this. Let's see what we have for our. So we do have. So, so we set up a. See, and that's the other thing is I'm 99% sure the animation handler is what moves things, not. And that's it. Like I have. Yeah, I have. So that's a third thing, right? Like, so we have a whole animation system, and the animation system also manipulates the DOM element, and and we do have a concept of an animation. So the animation, in some ways, you can actually visualize it as containing a DOM element. So there's three things that are interacting with the DOM element. Um, so keeping these different things straight is going to end up being challenging. And right now, the animation is extraordinarily um, primitive. So once we start to flesh that out, we're probably going to end up creating more bugs again. Um, do this, and I think this is the one we care about, right? Where we set left. And we have these, and we have our. We see that we have our left set to 0. We add another one. I think if we, I wonder if we, oh, it's still one. So here it is again. And we have 200, and that looks good. But now, and actually I think we got even better. But now, when we go here, if we had one now, we don't ever set left, which I think maybe we set left. Okay, so where we set left did in fact get called, but it still only has 2 visualizations. It doesn't know anything about these other 2 visualizations. So that is a bug. It's a bug that we have created since we started trying to find the original bug. There's this original bug that is hidden in this code somewhere, and we've been trying to figure out where it is. So, but this is a bug that got created when we fixed things, um, and now this is screwed up. So we got to get this, that when we hit the add viz, to end up over here. So I guess the first thing we got to figure out is where do these come from? I think they come from a signal. So they get passed into the set calculated position. So that's in our visualization service. This guy, that was line 200. Hi there. set calculate positions. So I remember doing this yesterday. Yeah, there's where it gets called. And it gets called by calculate positions. And it actually is the one that finds visualizations. So it takes that off of the component class variable. So it's this thing. So this visualization is where it comes from. And this is an array of references to the actual visualizations. Which, like, it's kind of a bummer. Well, this is the visualization service, so maybe this is where that's supposed to be handled. Copy. I love you too. I guess we want this. So this is, we have a function that returns it. Create a visualization. So it looks like creating a visualization. So this is how it gets created. It gets a renderer ID, a component, and it creates a renderer ID and a component, I guess, together to create the visualization. So let's do this. Console log. Buddy. Creating a visualization. So the big question I have is if I go into How you doing? How you doing? If I come in here and I add one, do we get that? Create visualization. Okay, so I don't see create visualization of road. It can be helpful to just be like, oh no, we did get it. Okay, so. And this is where we set what happens. Okay, I'm going to add another one. Create another visualization. And we're setting visualization. We have two of them. Now I go to this view. Oh, I should. So it's set right, but I'm curious if I add one now. Will I end up with a third? No, see, I still have two. Even though. Oh, and then that's. I don't think that ever got called. Okay, let's clear this. We'll add another visualization. So this create visualization doesn't get called. That's weird, right? It's really, really weird. And I'm guessing if I come over here, it won't get called either. Yeah, never gets called, bro. It doesn't ever show up. So once we've created and once we've changed views, that create visualization function never gets called. It appears that that's happening. Now, I guess what we have to do is follow the add. This add visualization. I think this is IOViews probably. Okay, so nothing in the visualization service ever gets called from this. So it's not in the component visualization service. It is appear in the menu, app menu. I really wish I had named those better. Here's our add visualization, and it calls ST service UI service add renderer. So let's go see what happens. Let's click that. Step into that one. Let's see. ST renderer service get a base renderer and publish the renderer change. Okay, so why does this guy get called ever in visualization? Let's try to figure that out, because create viz for component. Looks like, yeah, I don't know what causes this to get called. So let's see. Upsert is component. It's supposed to do this. Existing visualization, empty visualization. So I'm guessing this is where, this may be where we're having a problem. Alright, so I'm guessing we come over here. I guess what we need to do is type upsert. Filter. Upsert. Upsert. So we did get upsert. Now, what we have found is that if we come over here, we got to upsert again. We add. Oh, and we did get to upsert. Okay, so we are getting to upsert. We're not getting to create. This is always a good time if you remember to get rid of filter, because it can get very confusing later when you're like, why isn't this happening? So, upsert. So I think this should get called 3 times. Determine if a viz component already exists. So get first empty visualization. So it's supposed to go in here and find an empty visualization. And this is our viz component. First empty visualization. Curious if anything comes back. So we did get one. Got an empty visualization. Existing visualizations. Let's make this bigger. So we do have existing visualizations. Oh, existing visualization. Add empty is false. Initialize existing with component. going to take the actual component and set it as initialized. So we have an existing visualization and empty visualization. So add empty true code. Oh, if we don't have one. Is exists. It does not have a component. Okay, so existing visualization returned a visualization, looks like. So we do have one visualization, I think, but we don't. Okay, so then here's where we create our viz for our component. So now we only get one, even though there's three. And I don't quite understand exactly what's happening, but to me it looks like what's happening is visualization is not getting. I don't quite understand what's going on. Try this again. Me and my wife take this supplement called Alpha Brain, and we ran out of it, and we haven't had any for a while. And I definitely am seeing negative impacts on my intelligence from it. Um, I think this could be an example. So we're going to end up at 117, right? So, and then if we add another one, we'll end up at 117 again. Twice, which makes sense. Now, if we leave, we end up there twice again. Come back, we end up twice again. Now, what's okay? So whatever is why it's not drawing is probably in animations. I believe the animation is what actually is supposed to. Well, yeah, for some reason the visualization is correct, but the animation is not getting the right visualization of it, if I remember correctly. But this is a different bug, so we definitely have multiple bugs going on. So we add a third. Yes. So we get the create visualization, which is weird, right? So let's step in because this is for our new viz component, right? Let's see. See, this is SD component ID 28, 24. Step. Now it's asking if it has been initialized, and it is. So for some reason, the component thinks it's been initialized. So it's not going to create a. I think because this is already set to true, it's not going to create a visualization. This, yeah, this is where, like, we're just going to skip right over this, right? Even though it is the new one. So it never creates a new one. And we skip straight over our viz component has been initialized and set to true. Something is setting this to true when it shouldn't be set to true. no visualizations. Add one visualization. Our viz component, it has, I think when we change views, yeah, how is this thing getting such, see, it's false, right? Now our viz component, no, it's still set to false. And we get in here, we set it to true. Look at our viz component, see that it is in fact, yes, I'm confused because the way C# does there. See, and after this, it will be set to true. And so, and I think we only have one. So now, we add another one. I think this will get called, it may get called twice. I can't remember. It's called twice. We have our viz component. And this is our first one. It's component ID 8, and it's been initialized. And basically, all we do is initialize it again and return the value that we got from set initialize. That's fine. And then we hit this. Now we're going to get our second one. This component has not been initialized. So we initialize it. Alright, so now let's try that whole thing again, but instead of going first and second straight away, we're going to go first, leave views, come back to the view, and then go second. And what I think will happen is that for some strange reason, the second one will be already marked as initialized, which is very strange. So this component, I think we could even watch. Let's see. Want to watch is component dot initialized. Initialized. Oh, that's a function. That there was also variable on there. Is component has been initialized. Let's get rid of that one. I remember I used to use the watch all the time. Like that was like every single time. And now I rarely use it. Okay, so we see that it's false, right? And now it's no longer this has left completely. The actual function doesn't exist anymore, so this viz component variable is no longer exists. I think that's what that is. So now if we come over here, curious, viz component watch is false. Okay. Exactly what we expect. It's true. Now if we come back again, same thing, it's false. True. I don't quite understand why it's getting called twice, but I'll go worry about that at this moment. First one is true, which I think is what we expect. This is our viz. The other thing we should have looked at was ID. This component, st component ID. for 12, it's true, which I think is right. Now we come up. Yeah. Oh, it's 12 again. It's 12 again. So create for Viz is just setting the same. Oh, here we go. Nope. Now it's 20. Oh, and it is initialized as false. Okay, so this thing existing. Okay, so it doesn't have one. Okay, so I commented out some code here. It looks like it was doing this work. It's the same. Empty visualization is component is equal to this component. Okay, so that broke. This empty visualization is probably not like you probably can't do that anymore. You probably have to. It probably has a component ID, not an actual empty visualization. So whatever this code was doing, which like is sort of a red flag because it's like I'm not exactly sure. I guess it does make sense. If there's no existing visualization and there's an empty visualization, then A, set the empty visualization's viz component to the viz component. But I don't think you can do that anymore. I think we'll have to set to the viz component ID. Um, that's like visualization. See, it does have. Okay, so it has a viz component ID. So I probably, yeah, I don't need to do this at all anymore. But whatever looks like I need to call create viz component. Create viz for component. So it says that the visualization exists, but it does not have an existing. So a viz exists, but does not have a component. Okay, so we have a visualization, but component doesn't exist, but that's not true. It does have a component as a component ID. And we actually do know that because, yeah, there are actually two of them. It just doesn't get registered the way it does when we do this create this component. There's something that happens over here that is not happening now that needs to happen because we're just initializing it. Setting the initialization true, whatever, because so there's some piece of work that this component is doing. Notation. It looks like it might be happening in create visualization. Just happened. So we're like saying, hey, I already have this component. But for some reason, this to notation. Okay. This doesn't get called. Create visualization in our visualization service. So the visualization never gets created. For that component, and so that it never gets added. It never gets added here. And so it never gets added to the array, but it's really blowing my mind. Okay, so let's hit this. we know we want to call this function, and this is in visualization service. Where's that other one? Okay, so we're still in visualization service. Are we still in visualization? We are still in visualization service. So let's go to forward. Create visualization. And there's create this component. There's create visualization. And we know that a visualization doesn't exist. So I think we need to call this function. Now that makes no, like, when you read it, this could be impossible. Absolutely, in my opinion, damn near impossible to make sense of, and it may not actually work in all conditions. Because well, we're saying that there is no existing visualization, so yeah, so we need to create it. That makes sense. And because then we've created our empty visualization. Maybe that should be called new visualization instead of empty visualization. So do we know our render right? It's the empty visualization nodes render. It looks like it knows what it's render right. It's st render right. I can't be sure. So can't quite do this yet. I want to add a console log here. Actually, let's not do that. Let's comment this out. I need to do this, but and if this works, like if it works, which I feel like there's about a 50-50 chance of this in order, we have got to rewrite this so that it makes more sense, because this doesn't make sense. What we want to watch is empty visualization st render right. Actually, I think we have it up already, so we can see if it. We're actually in here, so this is existing empty visualization. And it does have its render. It's kind of weird because okay, so this is what it's supposed to be. It's the okay, so should be setting let's initialize that. It's weird. Okay, so this did not have an existing. There was no existing visualization. Actually, okay, so this is such. Oh wait, it's component st component ID. Let's look at its component in general. Interesting. There's got a okay, so it knows its renderer ID, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out. It's the renderer ID. It can't even be created without a renderer ID, apparently. It looks like this. Like one of its inputs to the component is the renderer ID. I can just grab it. I tried that. So the component's st renderer. is likely a signal. So this. Is component. And it might actually make sense to create visualization. Not even like, why am I even passing it to rigor? Maybe I don't know it. You know, I have to know it because it can't get created without it. So I don't know. I don't know. I haven't fully processed it. I'm really just curious if it's going to work or not. Debug statements. So we're starting. So that did fix it. And we don't know. I don't know why that fixed it. I think a big problem with understanding this is this empty visualization is probably not good. This should be get first empty visualization. And it's an ST visualization, I think. And I think that would be very helpful to call this ST visualization, not visualization. Because I'm getting confused between component, is component, and visualization. I wonder why rec got quiet. ST visualization. Great stuff. I don't know if this is like, it's crazy. Like, you work really hard to try to make code as understandable as possible, and then come back an hour later and it's not understandable. Like, that's actually a skill. Like making code understandable is not like just something you like. It's not like I don't know, finding your wallet. It's like actually like a skill that you have to develop over time, and usually you don't. Okay, so this is an empty. Okay, this is an empty ST visualization. What did I say? Oh, okay, so that was apparently ST visualization. So basically, right here, we're saying that get is. Okay, so weird. Viz is just not a good notation. What is this getting? So this is not getting a Viz. This is getting an ST visualization. This is killing me. Maybe this is. Because it probably made sense, a lot more sense when I wrote this. But now it doesn't make any sense. It's really screwed. Because the problem is a viz could be the component. It could be like a lot of different things could be called a viz. Um, and this code is extraordinarily difficult to understand. So, we just got to admit that. You just have to freaking acknowledge when you make a mistake. And I definitely made a mistake there. it may not make sense at work to acknowledge when you make a mistake because it may make your boss look bad. It may, it's a more complex scenario. Whether when you're working with other people and all that, and you've got to be a lot more careful with what you say because you just don't. You don't know exactly how people are absorbing it, but there's a saying: "Be true to thine own self." At least internally, you have to acknowledge to yourself that you've screwed up. Now, externally, 9 times out of 10, it probably makes the most sense, especially if it's a 1v1 person with someone you trust. And it makes sense to just be as honest and upfront as possible. But um, especially if you're talking in a group with layers of different people who have layers of different understanding, and not making mistakes. Like when you write code, you literally make thousands of decisions an hour, like literally thousands. And obviously, you're going to make some bad decisions. If you don't acknowledge those bad decisions, you're destined to just make those same decisions over and over again. Um, but if you're dealing with people who only make like 8 decisions in a day, like 8 super impactful decisions in a day, and you say, "Oh, I made a mistake," like making a bad decision in their situation is very different. So they are going to take it in their context. So I would not say you should just automatically just announce to the world every time you made a mistake, but you definitely need to announce to yourself. All right, so I call this an empty visualization. It's this is you should think are you always going to get empty visualization? Okay, so you may get an undefined. So basically, this is going to go through each visualization, and it's going to find one that doesn't have ST visual. Okay, so got a viz component. No, didn't get a viz component and ST visualization. Oh, okay, so this is only because it already found one. So this basically prevents you from getting the next one if there's more than one. Or getting or skip quickly. ST. So that's all that's done because we're only trying to get the very first one. We're not getting a specific one. We don't care because next time, once we fill one out, we're gonna come back probably and get the next one. So this only gets that. So if we were doing a regular for loop, we could like break out of the for loop. Since we're doing a for each, we really can't. I don't think you can break out for each. Um, so so we're getting the first empty visualization. It's that is the right word. But the problem is this word doesn't, this name doesn't sort of indicate that if available, if there is one. I mean, it kind of does because there was no first, so it would return that. Yeah, this codes. And I didn't think it was hard to understand when I wrote it. Now I do. So empty visualization. That word. So that's wrong because it could be undefined, right? So it's like I almost want to do this. I think I want to do this. Let found a, I was about to say visualization without. Okay, see, actually, I don't understand what this does. Okay. So it's going to get your first ST visualization, right? That's what it does. But if there isn't one, it's going to return undefined. So it's going to iterate over every visualization. It's going to find out if there's one that doesn't have a visualization. And if there isn't one, it will return it undefined. And if there is one, it won't. Okay, so I'm going to go here and I'm going to found visualization. Is this the best way to do this? Probably not. I just can't think of another way to do this. This code is a shit show. So I'm trying to help myself. If, and maybe I'll like visualization. The two big mistakes I made was this empty visualization has like it implies that we found visualization. And then the other thing is naming things viz, and then the other thing was naming all my IDs, not specifically naming my IDs, which led to a lot of confusion. Um, Now that I feel like reads a lot better. Found empty visualization. That's existing visualization. Okay. Yeah, now I'm very confused by that too. Get ST visualization. Oh, so it already has a visualization. Right. So I feel like probably what needs to happen here. Yeah, I think what needs to happen here is for the sake of being able to understand the code, I probably should have like a function that returns true or false if there's an empty visualization. Which an empty visualization is a visual is. This is ST visualization. So I guess it's feasible that ST. There's probably what happened. Yeah. See this. Yeah, this is a probably happened because when we originally built when I originally built this, I built it to kill, like to actually destroy the entire component, and then it became possible that the component might already exist. I don't know. But this code is a disaster. I cannot see how to fix it. I'm at it. Hopefully next time. Uh, and let's see if this works. It should work. I can't see why it doesn't work. It worked. That did. All right. So clearly I don't understand what's going on. So let's go back to this and just make sure. Was that before? Yeah, so that was because we were never even able to do that. And what did I do? We had it fixed, right? We did, right? I'm not crazy. Or did I just... I'm just gonna keep hitting undo. This is not a new experience for me. I've seen it many times. See how any of that would have broken. It's possible. I'm sorry. What did I do? Oh man. It's impressive. I did. Let's see. Changes. That was what I did, right? This was the difference. Now I'm starting to like question my own memory. I don't see how renaming that would broke. Go back to the seven. So that was the point that I thought when we undid this. And then that didn't. So changed it to this. And I could have sworn that fixed it. Now I'm totally misremembered this thing. This I thought was the piece of the puzzle. Did it. Let's see. 12. we were doing was like the thing was this is this that was the thing supposedly made all the difference in the world. I thought so adding it to the did I make maybe I made changes and no because that's still in this file right this create visualization yeah this is what should have added it to the array because the problem is that when you add you didn't yeah the second one let's get the console up. Oh wait it does have two. Did I do this? Okay, so we do have two now, right? That was the problem before. The original problem. Get this. The original problem was that when we came back, we didn't have two in here. Like once we had changed views, go like this, we'd say add events. We had one here, add events, and it would still be one. But now we have two, which is good. Back over here. I believe this should still be good. It should still have two. Let's add a third. Oh, I got very confused. See, we have three now. Okay, so that is actually whatever bug that was is actually fixed. Now, I don't know why it showed it was like. Oh, that is well. So we added, but one of them did get drawn in the right place, but one didn't. So it looks like the animation thing is also not. I didn't want to like hopefully. So I've gone right back to where I was. Okay, we have one. Add one. Okay, we have two. That was this bug. Then back over here. Fine. I don't know why it's not redrawn. Then we add one, and the third one gets redrawn for some reason. And everybody has the right thing, but for some reason, whatever is actually setting the left and right of the element. So we inspect now. And that was the weirdest thing, because, yeah, it's so strange. So, like, if you look at this one here, or actually this last one, right, that's the one. This guy. Which is weird, because he is the second. So it kind of actually looks like, to me what it looks like is that this guy's in the right place. Oh, well, no. Neither of these two get set, and for some reason the second one gets set to the right. So, it's completely screwed up. Yeah, so only the newest one actually. No, that's not correct. Only one is actually getting set at all. Whatever actually sets the style to 400px is only aware of one visualization. So that is another bug. Now let me see if I can take a second because this one is like I hate it when I don't learn something. Like I've learned a lot, but one thing I don't quite, I can't in my mind I guess that broke because of this stuff getting commented out. And yeah, so there was some code that got commented out because it didn't make sense. I didn't understand it. Um, and to be honest with you, if I have to come back in again, I'm still not going to understand it because I don't quite understand what's going on. Um, I do understand better now, and I'm glad I had commented that code instead of deleting. Oh, okay, so we didn't get. Okay, so let's see it found empty. If I can use this because I do think found empty visualization will make it have me. I'll have a slightly better chance of understanding what's going on. This. Yeah, let's just see if we can say this in words. So it exists, but does not have existing visualization is an ST visualization. So this is an existing ST visualization. But I just will initialize existing with product. God, this just makes no sense to me. Let's just make sure that we still have our double. Yeah, so we still have our double. It's definitely, I don't know why it works that one time. Has not worked since. But neither of them are getting their left set. Right? Like, that's what we learned. See, it's like the left and right aren't being set. We had a new one. And it's wild because the second one, it knows that there's two others, so it figures out, hey, I got two others, I need to set them, but it's not setting. Um, it thinks, I suspect it thinks they're already set. Now, it is wild to me also that the third one isn't the one that's getting set. I think we can tell it. It'd be kind of nice if we added like an ID or something, or like a data thing that, like, for that, like you do for Cypress. Oh, yeah, data CY visualization. It would have been good to also add the STID. It's like visualization ID, ST visualization ID, or something like that. It might end up doing it, but this one never gets okay. But okay, so we did. We're trying to make this good. So not an existing visualization. Skin visualization. So this is undefined, right? It didn't find one. Okay, so it could not find visualization. An ST visualization. Or and I pass it in it doesn't have ST visualization. It has a renderer, doesn't have an ST. And then MT visualization. Okay, this returns. Okay, so this actually created an empty visualization. So, okay, so it creates a visualization when it finds a component that doesn't have an ST visualization. Created. Okay, so maybe that's what's so weird. Maybe this is backwards. So basically, we know we found one that wasn't empty. And then, okay, so we recreated a visualization. Existing visualization. Okay, so there was a component, created a visualization. That's what this, or we were unable. No, it was a component we were unable to find a visualization. Up here, okay, so up here we examined all the components. All components. And determine. Yeah, that's the problem. Is this thing's doing too much. Like the code. Yeah, that's the problem. That is the basic problem. One, this thing examines all components and determines if a component exists and if it doesn't, two. Yeah, this thing's doing too much. If it doesn't, it creates. That's the thing. Is this is doing too much, and I have seen people do that before, where you write code and you're like, "Hey, tell me what this line of code does," and then they're like talking 2 minutes later, like they're still explaining all the different things one line of code does, and that is that is a big part of the problem here. Is that this thing is just doing way too much. First of all, if yeah, this freaking code sucks. If we have if like okay, so what does that mean? If we go through all the components and the component and uh, a st examines every component and determines if there is a component that does not have an STS. Okay, that's number one. Two, if it doesn't, it creates. That really should not be. function. That should be two functions. There should be one function that tells you whether a component exists, and then if it doesn't, then there should be another function that create like at the very least that should be. But instead, I have like this baked in logic in this. Oh, if there isn't one, yeah, no wonder this thing is such a shit show. And then the problem is that that's just the beginning of it. I think as we continue to dig down into this, um, what we'll find out is that we what we'll find out is that it's more of the same. Yeah, this is a highly optimized, efficient piece of code that is damn near impossible to understand. Um, and I'm gonna have to take care of this. And this is gonna be a scary one because it is very like break things. And this is exactly what I thought I was gonna avoid by achieving 100% code coverage in my unit tests. I thought that these sorts of highly abstract functions that just do way too many things, um, that would kind of have worked itself out. Let me see. Does this tell me? Sometimes when you come over here, you can see what, like when, like you, when that code was written. Maybe this was very early on. I think this is sort of a product of like when you refactor at the foundational level, and we refactored from like routing, destroying all components because we wanted to get rid of the detached nodes. When we did that refactor, I think it ended up writing some patching up some code in here, which then made this thing damn near absolutely impossible to understand. So yeah, I'm definitely that's what I'm going to work on tomorrow. Um, um, and then whatever I'm pretty sure it's in the animation code, must not be able to figure out. Like it knows that there's three of them, so it calculates this to the right, one of them to the right position, but it doesn't know that um, it doesn't know that for some reason it doesn't update the existing ones, and maybe it's because it thinks it's initialized, maybe it's keyed off of that initialization. Not sure. Something about that, and that's a whole different bug. But this needs to be. I'll do that tomorrow. Jesus. Hour and 24 minutes. Sorry about that, everybody. Happy coding.